Good morning. This is Learn to Love Yourself or Authenticity with Rosie. And today's topic, which is the last one in a line of 7 from the category Overcoming Rejection and Building Confidence. Today is the last one. First, I want to take a deep breath. Calm my energies, and I invite you to do the same. So, when you talk about the topic of how to stay open after rejection, that means that at some point rejection took place. And rejection, a lot of people, it can make them shut down, harden, and question who you are, because it's from those wounds inside yourself that somehow at some point in time you weren't enough, you thought, because of how other people responded to you. And so feeling open can feel dangerous, and trying to open yourself, it seems, to more pain. But when in truth, that is not the case. The problem is rejection didn't break you. It didn't break you. It revealed where you still are seeking validation. So I'm going to say that one more time. The rejection did not break you. It revealed where you are seeking validation. So if you spin that a different way and look at it from a different vantage point, it could be a number of things which we have talked about on this section. And so you come to realize more and more, it's not so much about the other person, it's about you. And that's what a lot of people, they don't want to have. I've recently offered helping other people find their center, find what their soul's been trying to help them with. And a lot of people have been very triggered by it. And I realize so many people are stuck in their illusions of what they believe and who they are. And I can understand and appreciate that, because as you know, if you've watched my videos, I too had to go through a period of time where I changed how I looked at the world, how I thought. I can't say to my core beliefs, because my core beliefs are pretty much the same as they were when I was a child, because I guess I'm hard-headed. But I'm saying is I understand the pain. I understand the feeling of what you thought you knew and finding out it was all a lie. I know how that feels. And it's very, very scary when the structures and the walls and the house that you built around yourself, to think that when you come and look back at it later and find out it wasn't the case. And no one likes to be lied to. And so in a way, it's reflecting that you weren't told the whole truth. Other people influence that, and it can make you bitter. It can make you angry. But really, truly, are you angry and bitter at the other person? Are you angry and bitter at yourself? And that's why I talked about each step and each thing. And why? Because this is a big thing where it involves everyone. And it seems so risky to stay open, or to even open again, to open yourself for another chance. Let's say this. When you were little and You were first learning to crawl. And at first you didn't even have enough strength to get up on your hands and knees. You were just pulling with your arms until your arms got strong enough that you could actually put weight on your arms and then crawl. And then from there, you tried to walk because other people were walking around you, so you wanted to walk too. It's the same concept. And yes, sometimes you'll fall, sometimes it'll hurt. And guess what? It's okay, because if things don't hurt, do we ever learn truly? And it sucks, I know, trust me. It's sometimes it's very, and you have to wonder what. And some people are like, I'm just being punished. And really truly, my God, the universe, whatever you want to believe in, I don't believe they punish us. I believe that they give us opportunities to grow. And so if you never went without something, how can you truly appreciate it when you do have it? If everyone, and I'm not saying people shouldn't be kind, they should to their ability, but we're all so different. Everyone on this planet is different. And that's however many billion people there is. So you can imagine a difference in everything. And some people are like, oh, but it makes them unsure. And the reason I've gathered, a lot of times the reason people get angry when you question their belief systems is because they themselves have already been questioning it. And that's how you trigger them without meaning to, because they've already had thoughts and wonderings about that subject. And now you just hit on a point that is very tender. And so the biggest thing is compassion. Have compassion for yourself. Because if you don't have compassion for yourself, you can't have compassion for anyone else. And that's why the same thing goes. If you can't love yourself, truly love yourself, how do you love anyone else? It's impossible. You can't. You have to be true to yourself first, because you can't give what you don't have. Just like when an airplane is having problems and they tell everybody to put their own mask on first. Because if you're not good, you're not taken care of, how do you take care of others? And so I think that this whole thing, because how I was raised, if you took care of yourself, even just normal self-care, you were automatically marked selfish in some way. And that's actually really sad, because people then they burn themselves out by trying to be everything for everyone but themselves. And you see it, fathers, mothers, older siblings, where they're trying to carry a family. And it's hard. And when you get stuck in that mentality of constantly doing, being, trying to be that for everyone, but you're still not happy when you look in the mirror, because when you look in the mirror, you see all of the things that you don't have, that you're not validated, that no one actually cares, and you're just a workhorse. And so, if you can, take a step back and look at the world as it is, as it truly is, and see. And it's quite interesting, the more you observe and the more you perceive others, the more you learn that everyone is going through something. There's no one that is perfect. I mean, I think they would be quite a frightful thing to behold if there was such a thing. Now, there's many people who believe they are perfect. But really, truly, even take people that are narcissistic, that believe they're perfect, that believe they've got all the answers. Can you imagine what would happen to them once they finally realize, or in their quiet moments, when they realize that they're not good enough either? because everyone goes through it. That's why this is called Earth School. We're all here learning, or supposed to be learning. So I just want to let you know, because a lot of people, and I know myself, staying open can seem very risky until you learn boundaries. And boundaries are basically, it's like having a gate, not a wall. So if you wall off everyone, nothing can get in and out. No blessings, nothing. You're walling yourself off from everything, even yourself. And yet, so nothing can get in. And that just makes you feel worse. Whereas if you have a gate and you decide who gets to come into your space, who gets to communicate with you, how you get to respond until you feel safe enough, and your boundaries will change. And I'm not saying people will ever get away or you'll ever accept the fact of people treating you badly. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about your tolerance levels. Instead of what people say being an attack on you, you'll realize that actually what they're saying has nothing to do with you. It's just how they perceive the world. Because it's like some people are like, well, but we all have to be the same. And I was like, why? Do you only cook with salt at your house? I like all flavors, all kinds, all ideas. And so it's, I don't know. A lot of people say I have a lot more open mind than most. But the way I look at it is everyone is working on it. I'm no better, no worse than anyone else. We're all just working at it. And yes, I think people that mess with kids, they have another deficiency of some kind that makes them do that. And I'm not saying they should be allowed to do that. We have to protect innocence. But we should all treat each other also how we would want to be treated. And being open does not mean you're available to everyone. It doesn't mean that you are just going to have whatever. No, you have to have boundaries. You know your worth. You know how powerful you are. And that's why self-love is so important. And if you can imagine two healed beings coming together for a romantic relationship or whatever, whether it's a friendship, anything, can you imagine how much better this world would be if everybody worked on themselves and was more interested in their own thing? And rather than saying, immediately, yes, you should hold people accountable for when people are rude or are not kind. But in the same sense, sometimes you have to realize nothing, being silent, is a response. Being just totally, and it's not saying that, but that our ego, it just wants us to respond. It wants to defend and fight. And yet, where does it get you? Into an argument? Where the other person can't hear you anyway? Because if we're all working on ourselves and we're all in different dimensions and we're all perceiving things differently, can they even hear you? And so I've realized from my own life to stop throwing my energy at things that is just going to waste it. Because there is a lot of energy vampires and they just want your time and your attention. They don't want to actually hear what you say. They don't want actually encouragement. they just want to lead off of your light. And that bleeds you dry unless you protect yourself. So my take on it from the staying open after rejection is stay open, but be selective. And that comes again to know what you want. Because deep down, you know what you deserve once you've done the healing. Sometimes it's hard to find that if you don't know. And so another way to look at it is rejection triggers your nervous system that is trying to protect you. And so rejection is a protective response then. And so closing off your heart would also be a survival response. And so that's what we're trying to say, okay, I'm grown up. I understand this more. And you say, you know what? Body, mind, heart, I understand now. I can protect you. And that's what boundaries are. It's because you're big enough now. You're strong enough now. You know your worth. You're not going to settle for anything less than you deserve. Because you deserve the best. And so a lot of times I like to just take a breath. And with my kiddos, I've found that if you just take a breath, just when things seem intense for a minute, just say, excuse me, I just need to take a moment. And you just take a good 10 breaths. Breathe in, and then let it out. And calm your energies so that when you do respond, you're going to be from a more peaceful place. Because a reactive response, a lot of times when people are reactive, they say things they don't mean. And people hurt each other. And then you have to later go back and apologize because you were so reactive. And I've done it. I know. It's hard. But it's a muscle. The more you do it, the easier it gets. And that's, a lot of people are all for beautifying the outside of their body. But for some reason, to delve into one's mind and heart and soul is a very scary topic. And that's because if you weren't as much as you thought you were, what if you find out you weren't as much as you hoped and you dreamed? But the thing I've learned, but what if, just what if, you're a more amazing human than you ever imagined? And isn't it worth a chance to try to meet that person, to find them? Because all paths to healing lead to this. So confidence isn't believing everyone will choose you. It's knowing that you will choose yourself no matter what. And so you know better. And so when that person is rude and unkind and dismisses you and doesn't actually even pay attention, you can immediately walk away. You don't owe anyone anything. You owe it to yourself to be true to yourself. So here are some common myths. that staying open means being vulnerable with everyone. And that is a myth, because the truth is, openness without discernment is self-betrayal. Openness without discernment is betrayal. And that's why a lot of people, if you're not being discerning, and that's why you get burned, is because you're betraying yourself, because you're settling, you're letting people take advantage of you. And no is a complete sentence. You don't have to follow up with a backstory or anything of why. The answer is simply no, and that's all. And you can end with it. The next myth is rejection means something is wrong with you. The truth of it is, rejection is often misalignment, not inadequacy. I'll say that again. Rejection is often misalignment, not inadequacy. So it's not that you weren't good enough. It's just called at this moment in time, because we are attracting whatever our soul needs to evolve. And just because that person doesn't have that for you does not mean that you're bad. Every connection, I believe, has a purpose. And if it's not, obviously you have everyone around you rubbing your sharp corners off, helping you learn more about yourself. And so a lot of times people say, oh, the right person, wrong time. And I'm not saying that that doesn't happen. I'm sure it could. Anything is possible. But I also believe that sometimes the best thing to do is to just recognize and walk away. Because whatever is truly meant for you, and whatever is truly yours, it will come around and around and around until you're in the right energy to receive it. And here's the last one. Closing your heart keeps you safe. And that's a big myth, because I meet people all the time that try to protect themselves by having a closed heart and being angry and frustrated at the world. When the truth is, closing your heart just delays healing. It's just like with addictions, and whether that's a substance, whether that's working too much, whether it's going to the gym, whether it's anything you use as a source to escape. Books. Anything can be an addiction. Anything that makes you want to leave your current reality is an escape. And the thing about escapisms is, and I do it, I've done it many times, they're good for a moment. But if you find yourself always living in that, I have to get back there, have to do it, have to, and it makes you angry when you're not, because when you're left alone with your own thoughts, it can be very daunting. But at the same sense, who is benefiting by you constantly running away from yourself? Because at the end of the day, you can't run from yourself. at the end of the day, when all the highs are gone, you've already worked out as much as possible, you've read as many books as possible, you've done all of the different things to try to run away from yourself. At the end of the day, and you're sitting there looking at yourself in the mirror, who are you? Who do you want to be? Because if you have been given a dream, then the universe has every plan to see that dream through. But you have to do your part. They're not just going to hand you something without you trying. You have to work for it. You have to put in the effort. And that is how manifestation works. But you have to prove that you're ready for that dream. It's like people say, well, I guess I just need to learn how to be patient. And then they're like, I don't know what's happening. I'm having all of these things come up and I am not patient. Doesn't anybody understand I am not patient? And I'm like, but you did say you wanted to be more patient. And so the thing is the universe reflects back to us what we want, what we subconsciously think about, how we feel. Trust me, I spend probably more time sabotaging myself than not. But it's getting easier to recognize, because instead I'll be like, right off, I'll be like, oh, that was pretty good. I know how to manifest. I did it. And it's okay, because we're all learning. And that's the thing is there is no wrong choices. The worst thing to do is to be stuck, not growing, not changing, not improving. And so I just want to let all of you know, it's okay to be messy. It's okay to not be perfect. It's okay for other people to see you that way. And it's okay not to care. Because everyone has to brush their teeth. Everyone has to shower. Everyone has to wear clean clothes. It's not like there's people out there that are just automatically supposedly perfect and don't have to deal with the things that everyone has to deal with. We all deal with it. And so the big thing is I want to encourage you is to be more true to yourself. Let go of the fear of judgment. It's I don't know. I know when I was in the religion, you were constantly judged by people who saw you. And people would spread across town. And you know what? It just makes you curious. Because if everybody has to talk about you to keep themselves entertained, because they don't dare talk about themselves. So I just want to encourage you. Be your messy, imperfect self. And let's spread love. There's been enough hate in this world. Let's find things that we have in common with each other instead of all of the things that are different. Because in truth, none of us are without sin, as you would say, or don't have things to learn. We all do. So I just want to remind all of you how amazing you are and how loved you are. This time that we've entered is so amazing, and I am privileged to be able to be here with you.